Yeah.
Never log on to the RPS guest. How do you get onto your thing?
I'm guest.
Don't do that to me.
You get on through RPS guest.
I use my hotspot.
And I can't.
I did it. You'll see me.
No,
But I don't know what the.
No, this is my own, but I always used to.
get this.
Okay.
No, that's what I've been trying, that's what I've always been, I tried doing that and I can't do it. Yes. I blame, I've done everything.
I haven't used Wi-Fi
Well, the
since
thing is,
the
I must
outage.
bring notes with me, so it's fine.
To tell us.
I've sworn, I've thrown it on the floor and stepped on it a couple times.
We need to fix that. Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, now go ahead. Do what you need to do. Nope. Okay. Sorry, Assembly is being Assembly. There we go. Okay, now we're ready. This special meeting of the Independent School District 535 School Board is called to order at 5:31 p.m. on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, in room 137 of the Edison Building. The board acknowledges this site and all RPS sites are situated on the ancestral land of the Dakota people, and we honor the Dakota nations and the sacred land of all indigenous peoples. Present at this meeting are school board members, Superintendent Kent Pickell, a non-voting ex officio member, and Assistant School Board Clerk, Ms. Lori Sam. Ms. Sam, would you please call the roll?
Director Barlow.
Here.
Director Cook.
Here.
Director Garcia.
Here.
Clerk McLaughlin.
Here.
Treasurer Martin.
Here.
Chair Nathan.
Here.
Vice Chair Workman.
Here.
At this time, we offer the opportunity to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 2.1 is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The agenda has been approved. The agenda and documents for this meeting are available online at rochesterschools.org/assembly. Our focus topic for the special session are curriculum-related field trip fees. In accordance with the pupil fee law found in Minnesota statutes, section 123B38, before the initiation of any fee not authorized or prohibited by sections 123B36 and 123B37, the school board must hold a public hearing. Tonight, we will hold a public hearing about field trip requests for students of Rochester Public Schools where student fees will be charged. The new field trip requests, which we are bringing forward to the public hearing, are described in the agenda item. The attachments in the agenda item provide information about these field trips. Jefferson Grade 3 to the Houston Owl Center, John Marshall Physics Day field trip to the Mall of America, Washington to the Eagle Bluff Environmental Learning Center. The attachment, School Board Approved Enrichment Field Trips, lists all the field trips where school board approval for a fee has already been obtained. If there are members of the public who wish to make public comments on any of the field trip requests on the agenda, please raise your hand to be recognized. Once you are recognized by the chair, please come to the table. Choose a microphone to speak into and be seated. You will have 3 minutes to speak and the timer will be displayed right in front of me. Please begin your remarks by stating your name, your relationship to Rochester Public Schools, and the field trip you will be commenting on. Are there any comments on field trip fees? Second call, are there any comments on field trip fees? And final call, are there any comments on field trip fees? Seeing no requests for comments, this public hearing is adjourned at 5:35 PM. This regular meeting of the Independent School District 535 School Board is called to order at 5:35 PM on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, in room 137 of the Edison Building. The board acknowledges this site and all RPS sites are situated on the ancestral land of the Dakota people, and we honor the Dakota nations and the sacred land of all indigenous peoples. Present at this meeting are school board members, Superintendent Kent Pickell, a non-voting ex officio member, and Assistant School Board Clerk, Miss Lori Sam. Miss Sam, would you please call the roll?
Director Barlow.
Here.
Director Cook.
Here.
Director Garcia.
Here.
Clerk McLaughlin.
Here.
Treasurer Martin.
Here.
Chair Nathan.
Here.
Vice Chair Workman.
Here.
At this time, we offer the opportunity to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's okay.
Item 2.1 is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. The agenda and documents for this meeting are available online at rochesterschools.org/assembly. Item 3 are comments to the board. It is important for the school board to hear from our stakeholders regarding issues that impact our students, staff, families, and schools. We welcome communication via email, phone call, at our community engagement listening sessions, and here during comments to the board. The purpose of comments to the board is to give community members an opportunity to provide input directly to the school board about issues that fall within our authority. The board and superintendent do not respond directly to speakers' comments during the meeting, but may follow up with the speaker if requested and appropriate. Persons who want to make comments to the board must fill out the online form by 5 PM on the Monday before the school board meeting. The form is available on the RPS website and on the Assembly main page. A reminder that Policy 206 and Procedure 206A set the time, place, and manner, procedures, and restrictions on comments to the board. By participating in the public comment period, each speaker agrees to abide by this public comment procedure. Speakers, when your name is called, please come to this table. If you have written materials for the board, please provide them to the Assistant School Board Clerk prior to your remarks. She will distribute them to board members. Choose a microphone to speak into and be seated. Please direct your remarks to the school board. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and the timer will be displayed on the timer in front of me. Please begin your remarks by stating your name. Our first speaker tonight is Marilyn Theisman. Our next agenda item is information and outreach, the mystery AI chatbot. Superintendent Pickell.
Well, I don't know. I guess it is a mystery insofar as we haven't said very much about what it's about. This referendum that is on the ballot November 5th, which we just heard about from some different perspectives, is tremendously complex. It is governed by a broad array of state laws and local regulations. It involves $19.4 million and a complex strategy of investment to use those dollars to ignite student learning. And so it's tough to understand. It's tough to understand the details. It can even be tough to understand the big picture. And so, of course, I and many of you as board members have been out across the community for months and months and months talking about this referendum, trying to provide information. We've done that in person. We've done that virtually. We've done that via social media. And on a couple of those occasions, there was a Rochester parent who listened intently and who said, you know, part of my day job is trying to break through and provide information in clear, transparent, and accessible ways. Now, he does that in a very different sector, but Mani Tavasi offered to utilize his skills and the skills of his amazing very fast-growing Rochester-based company, Trevi, to help us create a chatbot using artificial intelligence. And so I asked Mani to come and step up to the podium and give us a debut of that and let people see the capability that will be linked to all of our social media and websites starting tonight that will allow people to pose a question to what we ultimately decided was going to be a really valuable resource as we are in the final 2 weeks before this referendum. So Mani, I can't thank you enough, first of all, for entrusting us as a parent, but also as a local citizen and business leader for stepping up and entirely for free, helping us create this really great resource. It's been a lot of fun to, over the past couple of weeks, work with you to just, as you say, train the AI to start to create a resource that I think a lot of our community is going to find very valuable. So we're just going to invite you to tell us a little bit, first of all, about yourself, your company, and then what is this resource that we are launching tonight?
Oh, sure thing. Thank you so much, Kent, and thank you, team here. Hello, everyone. So I'm Mani Tavasi. I think I've met majority of you, but if not, so I'm here as an RPS parent, and also I run a local technology company called Trevi. So we are based out of here in the Bio Business Center, and we provide both cloud and AI-based solutions for private sector, including healthcare, telecommunication across the country. And as Kent alluded to it, so I was intently listening to this referendum as a parent. I was trying to understand the bits and pieces of it, but as a technologist, I was looking at all these pieces of information, and it was a bit overwhelming in terms of putting these pieces together and making an informed decision, right, for our community members. And my goal was, when I spoke to Dr. Kent, that, hey, we have a capability that we want to bring to the discussion and help our community members to help understand the referendum in a much easier, simpler, clear, and transparent way. And with that in mind, we created the decision.ai. This is the tool, and I can go back and refresh this. And yep, so this is the page, and you can access this tool through your mobile phone or through your browser. It's very simple. If anybody has used ChatGPT or another form of AI tool, it's very, very similar. And it's nothing but a simple box where you can go in and type questions and get answers regarding this referendum. Just before I start putting in the questions, just a very high-level overview of what this tool is about. I'm sure, and happy to take other questions as well at the end of this meeting. But so we had actually used the content that was created for this referendum using, this was between the PDF documents, the Word documents, YouTube videos, the text on the browser. So, and then we used this to train the model. So the model behind this, it's been custom trained specific for this referendum. So we're excited to present this to the community members to go ahead and use it, learn about it, and hopefully November 5th would be a very positive day for us. So So that's the whole objective. And here, I'm also open to take any questions from the public or the board or anyone from the room here, so I can type a question and see what kind of response it can put out. And as Dr. Kent mentioned, this link to this tool is available in the Rochester Schools website as well, and you should be able to access them from now.
Well,
Yes,
I'll get us
questions?
started, and this
Yes.
is not a plant.
Yep.
This is we didn't plan this in advance.
Of
This
course.
is totally live.
Yeah.
If the response is the superintendent is an idiot, that's so may it be. In the referendum proposal, which area would receive the most funding?
So it's still thinking, a few minutes.
28% of the
20%.
funding will support services that strengthen student well-being and mental health. That is correct, actually.
Hey,
So
we passed.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign so far.
All right, board members, anybody else
Any
have
other
have
questions
a
you want to try?
question? You want to try?
Public, yes? Why don't we try that?
Good question.
Good question, we should
We
try it.
can't comment on that.
Unless we have planted this in the tool, right? Oh, there you go.
Can you read it?
We cannot predict the outcome of the referendum. Every vote matters, as evidenced by last year's narrow
Defeat
defeat
of
by
318
318 votes.
So we encourage you to vote.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Any other questions, board members?
Yeah.
Want to test it?
There's some on the bottom. Can you just click one
Oh,
of
yeah,
those?
click on one of the ones on the bottom, sure.
So this is just to give some lead in terms of what happens if a referendum fails.
If the referendum fails, some programs and positions in the proposal would need to be eliminated or greatly diminished, potentially leading to school closures and cuts to teachers and staff.
And the second one, how will this affect my property taxes?
Oh, it can be.
I was thinking.
If the referendum passes, property taxes will increase beginning in 2025. For a property valued at $350,000, the estimated increase would be about $29 per month. Agricultural land beyond the homestead and seasonal recreation properties are exempt from this levy. For more details, you can visit this tax impact calculator at, and then it gives the web address for the tax
Yeah.
calculator.
Yeah, we would, any other questions, we can keep chatting away. And the objective is to make it as personalized as possible to your specific need. I know there is tons of information for you to digest, but regarding property taxes, regarding the cuts, how is it going to impact to your specific neighbors, yourself, that's the whole objective of this. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the topic of taxes,
Yeah.
is there tax relief available for people whose taxes will be increasing?
Oh, there you go.
Yes, property
Tax
tax relief options are available. The Minnesota Homestead Credit Refund may apply if your household income is under approximately $135,410. Additionally, the special property tax refund is available if your tax increases by more than 12% and exceed $100. Seniors may qualify for the senior citizen property tax deferral if they are 65 or older with a household income of $96,000 or less. You can find out more information on these programs through the Minnesota Department of Revenue.
Director Barlow?
And so my question is less about
Yeah.
AI and more about your role as a parent.
Oh, yeah.
Can you if you don't mind sharing what it was like for you to, as a parent, approach the superintendent or whoever your initial entry point was to the district to make yourself available to inquire about opportunity to serve, help, and how can you perhaps suggest to us how we might be able to encourage other parents?
Oh, it's a great question. In fact, it was one of the easiest conversation that I had with Dr. Kent. So I was actually listening to the meeting. One was through the Chamber of Commerce because as a business owner here, I had attended one of those meetings, and then there was one prior to that. While I listened to this meeting and people were asking questions, and immediately we started to think in terms of, okay, there is a lot of questions, information is available, so things started to take. But at the end of the meeting, I was able to connect with Dr. Kent, asking him what are some of the challenges with the referendum, just general questions. I took back, and then we worked on a model, a shell that sort of like, okay, this is what we are thinking. Could we have a time with you on your calendar to come in and talk about what we have in mind? And he was gracious enough to accept a meeting with us, and we showed him, and more importantly, even beyond that, he was extremely supportive, and every team member of his were helping us out to provide content as well as to test the tool to ensure that the responses were relatable. So I think it was an extremely collaborative effort, and this is what we see as a parent and also as a business owner in terms of a private-public partnership, how it works in such a transparent and such an easy way for us to collaborate and take this forward. And in fact, we were just chatting even before this meeting that the tool by in itself has a lot more capabilities behind the scenes, and the application of this can go even further than what it's providing for this referendum. So I'm happy to chat and also work in terms of how we can, take it further to help the community. Yep. Yeah. Thanks.
Board members, anything else? Dr. Cook?
Could you elaborate just a little bit on the validation, I guess, or the testing that you went through in this rapid prototyping cycle, so that our community can have confidence that the information that they're getting might not be entirely accurate in every case, because that's the nature of these things, but
sure.
Yeah, just a little bit about.
Yeah, so the first, we wanted to make sure it's a very sort of bounded tool that is very specific to the referendum. That's the initial thinking in terms of when we started developing this. So the content, we relied exclusively on the vetted content from the Rochester Public Schools, and not the any other content that's in the social media or anywhere else, right? So we wanted to ensure that it's a very reliable, vetted content to begin with. So that helped us to set those guardrails in terms of how the responses would be constructed. But then we also have to allow the AI to think and do its own intelligence. So that's the whole reasoning aspect of the AI, where it comes in and helps you to frame the responses in a more digestible format. So behind the scenes, the content is a validated content, but the responses are, the objective was to simplify it and in a digestible format. So that's the approach we took.
The training set is all curated in advance.
Correct.
It's not dynamically ingesting more.
You can. So what we did was, as we were building this, and that was part of when we initially came in, we had like just 2 pieces of information. And then when we worked with the school district, they were able to provide like additional like videos and Q&As. So that sort of enhanced our overall content, because as Dr. Kent was mentioning, there were so many meetings that were happening, and all these Q&As were happening across the board, and those were curated and we fed into this tool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, right. Appreciate it. We're excited to bring this to not only for the school, but to the community, everyone, and we want to take this forward beyond November 5th as well. Yeah.
Superintendent?
I will refrain myself from sharing all the wheels that are turning in my head. But as you can imagine, and Mani and I were talking about this, if you are a new parent to Rochester and you're trying to decide what school to enroll your kid in, we could provide, on-demand information that would be very targeted. I think the final point that I would end with is, for anybody in a position of, public responsibility, let's just say, the constant challenge is getting the information to the people who need it. And if I had $1 for every time somebody asked for something and we said, Well, that's on the fact sheet. That's on the website. We said it in the school board meeting. It's out there, but if people can't get to it, it hasn't served its purpose. And so it's small consolation that we had it somewhere on the website, but people couldn't find it. And so I think what's really exciting about this, you could look at this and be a little cynical and say, well, all of this information was there already. Well, it wasn't all there on the website because Monty and the technology went deep through some of the technical notes that we used in putting the referendum proposal together, as Director McLaughlin's question about the tax exemptions demonstrated. That's not like prominent on the website, but it was something we used in the planning. So there is more, but the real value added here is that it comes to you. The information comes to you. And I think that's not a small thing, where you are a homeowner, you are a business owner, you're a parent, and you don't have the time to search through pages and pages or to be on the phone. Even though we try, as I think even Monty's story about the fact that I met him after a referendum presentation and we got together right away to talk, we try and be responsive. But in the end, there's only so many hours of the day and so many people you can connect with. And so I think this is not a small example of the kind of engagement that we seek to make true of all of our work. But at this critical moment where citizens in our community do have a very big decision to make, I think this is not a small contribution. So I really want to thank you again for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
And this will be available on our
It's going live tonight.
referendum website?
Yep,
Okay.
you'll find links to it and quite a few different places that you can find. And we look forward to continuing to feed more information into the chatbot between now and Election Day.
Thank you. Item 4.2 is a recognition of National School Bus Safety Week. National School Bus Safety Week is October 21st through 25th. This is a great opportunity to review some key reminders. When a school bus's red lights are flashing and the stop arm is extended, drivers must slow down and come to a complete stop. This is not a suggestion, it's the law. Yellow flashing lights indicate the bus is preparing to stop to load or unload children. This is when motorists should begin to slow down and prepare to stop their vehicles. Motorists may begin moving only when the red flashing lights are turned off, the stop arm is withdrawn, and the bus begins to move. Drivers are also reminded to respect the school bus loading and unloading area called the danger zone. Specifically, this is any side of the bus where the bus driver can't see the child and therefore the child is in the most danger. These areas include 10 feet in front of the bus, where the driver may be sitting too high to see a child, 10 feet on either side of the bus where a child might be in the driver's blind spots, or behind the school bus. School bus riders and their parents and caregivers rely on the other drivers on the road to follow the law to keep everyone safe. Slow down and be aware of school buses and children gathering at bus stops as you travel the area's roads. Item 4.2 are board member committee updates. Does any board member have any updates from their committees or other information to share? Director Marvin.
Very briefly, today was the first meeting of our district student school board. We had representatives from our three high schools meet in this room. They just ended a few hours ago. They met with the superintendent, with Mr. Ruffin, and a number of other representatives from our district's administration. They were welcomed into the boardroom with music and applause, and school board members, not school board members, those adults here attempted to dance to the music. It was an attempt. So the kids started the day with a good laugh. But we are really looking forward to this year. The focus is going to be having these students advise the superintendent and the board on important issues, real issues, that we are going to be dealing with this year. The student perspective, the student voice is an important part of our strategic plan, and this is a very specific, determined, and planful way that we really want students to know that what they say matters. Their experience matters, and we're not going to just listen to them. We're going to really include them in the decision making. Beginning next month, we will have a student at at least once of our monthly meetings, giving the report on what they do. So we're looking forward to that, and I'm glad to see some students are here. That's the report.
Director McLaughlin.
I attended the annual Education Summit for Cradle to Career earlier this month. It was a great opportunity to collaborate with various groups in the community that have an interest in education. And I was, lots of great sessions all day long, but I was particularly intrigued by the keynote speaker who talked about cross-sector collaboration. He is a professor from the University of Minnesota, and he talked about the goal of his research being leveraging diversity for unified purposes and shared solutions. I just found that so intriguing. And what he ultimately left the group with is to not be afraid to start small, to learn from the group's experience when hopefully we will see some cross-sector collaboration here in Rochester, and use those experiences, whether you fail or need to pivot or have successes, that all of it is valuable information for our community.
Dr. Marvin, do you want to talk a little bit about the session that you presented at the Cradle to Career and the collaboration that kind of brought that together?
Yes. Sorry. No, I'd be happy to. Sarah Louise Henry and I presented, along with Cradle to Career personnel, about a forum that we had last spring with high school students. Students from all three high schools came together, met with administrators from their buildings, and a group from each high school worked on a particular challenge that they found at their high school. It was a half a day. They had lots of time to plan, to talk, to problem solve with support from adults. And at the end of the session, they not only had lunch and had an opportunity to talk with kids from other schools, but they also had an action plan to address that particular challenge. And I think the best thing we did at the Cradle to Career gathering that Ms. McLaughlin was talking about is that the students did the presentation. So they talked about the experience from their perspective, and they presented the challenge that they were working with and the solution that they came up with. And they did an amazing job.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other reports, board members? All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Items 5.1 through 510 are our consent agenda items for tonight. Would any board member like any item removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration?
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda has been approved. Our next agenda item is 6.1, a focus topic, Referendum 2024, straight answers to the tough questions. Superintendent Piquel.
Thank you, Chair Nathan. We've already heard one example tonight in our new chatbot that is one resource for getting information on the referendum that's on the ballot November 5th, and we want to debut another. If Ms. Sam can jump up and bring to life a new page that's going live on our website this evening. Over the past, really 5 months, we have given presentations and especially virtually received a ton of feedback from the community on the Ignite Student Learning Referendum, and we have distilled the 20 questions that we think have been either the most frequent or of the greatest interest and concern to various stakeholders into a new document and website where we have given the shortest answer we could manage without sacrificing any of the detail to each of those 20 questions. And this is going live tonight. We'll be sending it out through our various channels. And we really hope that as people approach making their final decisions about the referendum, people will use this resource in a way that supplements the reading that they may already have been doing. So in the spirit of live YouTube, we're just going to actually take a look at the site, and you're going to see that not only does it consist of those 20 questions, it consists of a short video in which I give the best answer that our team could come up with again, while keeping the answer concise. And then we're going to invite board members to choose one of those questions that they found of particular interest or importance to them. And then following the brief video in which I give the answer that we arrived upon over many months of feedback on the referendum, for the board member to share their thoughts on why that's something that they think is important for our community to keep in mind as we approach this decision. So you can see, you'll go there to the top page and you'll see our straight answers to 20 big referendum questions. And if we scroll down a bit, you will see a little bit of explanatory text. And in fact, it looks like it's not quite picking up now, but if you refreshed, the chat bot is now live on the page. And if you go back up, there you see our Vote Smart chat bot literally appearing while we are in this meeting. So you can link to the new tool that Monty just gave us an overview of. Then if you are old school like me and you like to read stuff, you can click on that link that says a document to download the question and answers, in which you will get text. But then when we look, there you go at the written document. But then the heart of it are these videos and questions. So you can see there's 20 there, and I will turn it over to you, to Chair Nathan, to give each board member a chance to pick one. We'll take a look at the video, and then I should say thank you to the Rochester students, parents, and staff who agreed to record each of these questions in their own voice, even if it wasn't their own writing, to try and bring another voice into these videos. So,
Great.
Madam Chair, let's jump in.
All right, board members, we've each chosen a question. Who would like to identify their question first, and we can move on with the video and your comments? Who wants to start?
I can go first because I think my question is the lowest number.
Okay.
How about that?
And what is your question number?
Mine is question number 4.
All right.
All right, here we go.
If the referendum passes, does it mean there will be no changes in programming or positions that the referendum would fund?
If the Ignite Student Learning referendum is approved, RPS will allocate the funds to 4 critical investment areas. 19% of the funding will support positions that assist students who need more support to thrive. 25% of the funding will support programs that challenge advanced students and enrich learning for all students. 28% of the funding will support services that strengthen student well-being and mental health. And another 28% of the funding will support classes that prepare students for success in vocational and technical careers. Within each of these 4 categories, the school district has identified a set of positions and programs that will receive funding. The precise levels of funding that the positions and programs will receive within each category may change over the 10-year life of the operating levy, as students' educational needs and interests shift, parent priorities evolve, and state and federal laws and regulations are adopted, revised, and repealed. Each year, the school district will include a detailed update on how referendum funds were used during the previous year in its budget book. And each year, the RPS School Board will review and approve the referendum spending plan for the following year. A dashboard that summarizes how referendum funds have been spent will also be continually updated on the school district's website.
Director McLaughlin.
I chose this particular question because I like the way it is optimistically phrased and forward-thinking, recognizing what would happen if the referendum passes, but also having questions about how that would play out if and when the referendum passes. I very much appreciate the language in the response that talks about changing students' educational needs and interests. I find this a very responsive type of answer, in that it's recognizing that things do change and that our district very much has the capability of being responsive to the needs of our students, our parents, and our community, also recognizing that things like state and federal laws and regulations also change, and we need to be responsive to those. I also like the aspects of this answer that have the concept of continuous improvement embedded into the answer, and the fact that many of the topics in this answer reflect on the fact that the district will use data to provide information to the community, both through gathering financial information for the budget book and also presenting data from the successful referendum and how we use the funds on a dashboard. And finally, recognizing that the school board will also have the opportunity to take action to approve a spending plan in the following years.
All right, board members, who's next? Director Cook.
I think I have the next number, so if
Right.
that's how we're doing this. Number 6, please.
RPS says that if the referendum passes, it won't have to close schools, raise class sizes, or make major cuts in programs or positions. Would that be true for the entire 10 years that the operating levy would be in place?
If current state and federal funding levels and student enrollment levels in RPS are maintained or increased, and if our community does not suffer another major crisis such as the COVID-19 pandemic, approval of the 2024 referendum will enable RPS to achieve the financial stability we need to avoid making major reductions for at least the first 5 years of the referendum period, and potentially longer.
Dr. Cook.
So this question underscores for me our community's strong and understandable collective desire for predictability, for stability in its public education system. The parents in our community want to know that the neighborhood they decided to settle in or have decided to remain in to raise their families will continue to be associated with whichever one of the wonderful neighborhood schools that ties together the community defined by that school. They're wondering, will my neighborhood school be closed? Will the boundaries be changed? Will the programs I thought my students would participate in, maybe even in much later future grades, even be available? Will the classes get larger? I have 4 kids enrolled in RPS. My oldest is a 9th grader, youngest is in 2nd grade, which means I've spent many moments thinking about how this referendum outcome will impact them over the next decade. So the concerns about stability that are expressed in this question are not just theoretical to me. I know for certain these concerns are not just theoretical to our students. They care quite a bit. And I know these concerns over the looming potential for disruption and instability that would accompany the significant budget reductions outlined are particularly acute for many in our community. So I'm glad we're addressing it.
In order,
yeah, I
Director
guess so.
Garcia?
How about 11?
It's like a game show.
It is.
I'll take 11 for 1,200, Sam.
Why did the school district ask for $10.1 million in the 2023 referendum and $19.4 million in the 2024 referendum?
Last year, the district proposed a $10.1 million capital projects levy, which is a kind of levy that can be used for a limited range of spending on equipment and technology. This would have created substantial savings in our general fund budget if it had passed, and it would have allowed us to partly stabilize our finances. The current referendum in 2024 proposes an operating levy increase of $19.4 million annually. That funding will fully address the deficit in our general fund, which supports staff salaries, curriculum, programs, transportation, student services, and supplies. The 2023 referendum was defeated by 318 votes out of more than 22,000. After that narrow defeat, we reached out to many residents for feedback, and we heard concerns and questions about approving funding for technology. Based on that input, we decided to seek approval of an operating levy in 2024 that can provide funding for salaries and programs that directly impact student learning.
Dr. Garcia?
Yes, thank you. So I chose this question because I would have wanted this explanation if I were on the other side of the table, so I thought it would be appropriate. In addition to the answer given, I wanted to be able to highlight that after the capital projects levy vote, as they mentioned, we surveyed the community. And we heard those results in March of 2024, and one of the questions in that survey was if Rochester Public Schools places an operating referendum on the ballot, what types of educational programs or initiatives would make you want to vote for the referendum? And it was an open response, but the top three sort of categories were smaller class sizes, support for students who struggle academically or with mental health, and social/emotional supports for all students. So we could not have technology levied our way to those priorities because a capital projects levy has a narrow focus, as we heard. We can get there with an operating levy. So what I mean by that is the capital projects levy ask was a way for us to free up money that we were using out of the general fund for technology, but now the ask of the $19.4 million is because that is what increasing our per pupil funding looks like so that we aren't dead last among our district peers. This is a way that we can show up for our students for years to come.
And I think I'm next, number 14.
Why is the school district asking the community to pass the referendum the same year as the city of Rochester and Olmsted County are raising their levies?
The size and timing of the levy increases by the city of Rochester and Olmsted County were not factors we could consider when deciding to put the referendum on the ballot. Rochester Public Schools simply does not have any way to delay the major cuts that would be required to balance the district's budget for the 2025-2026 school year, except to secure additional funding through the referendum that will be on the ballot on November 5th. The school district's budget reserve funds are insufficient to postpone those reductions for another year. It is worth noting that in Minnesota, only school districts are required to ask residents to approve levies that support core services. Cities and counties are able to raise their levies without direct voter approval.
So I wanted to highlight the middle sentence in that answer, which is Rochester Public Schools does not have any way to delay the major cuts except to secure additional funding through the referendum that will be on the ballot November 5th. I think the importance of this question is to help us emphasize that we're facing an either-or situation that the city or the county can't solve. It can only be solved by the voters of Rochester. There are two potential futures for RPS. Either the voters approve additional funding, or there will be consequential budget cuts that will affect all students K-12 with implications for the next decade. I wanted to put these potential futures in the context with the recent past and the work that the board and the superintendent have been doing. In February of 2022, after considering stakeholder feedback, we told the community that our 3-year financial strategy to bring stability to the RPS budget would have two major components: budget reductions in years 1 and 2, and in year 3, and I quote, seek a voter-approved operating referendum revenue increase to generate $20.2 million. I'm going to repeat that. We told the community in early 2022 that we would be seeking a property tax increase through a referendum in the 3rd year of our strategy. So where are we today? We're in the 3rd year of implementing that strategy, and in the past 2 years, we've cut $21.4 million from the budget, and we've reduced our FTEs by 154. And with the failure of the referendum in 2023, we've put a $19.4 million referendum on the ballot. Now, at the same time, we're in the 3rd year of implementing our strategic plan, my favorite graphic at the back of the room. It's also been discussed very publicly, involved considerable community input, and we've tracked it through agenda items and presentations at almost every school board meeting in the past 3 years. Implementing the strategic plan at the same time we were implementing our budget stability strategy was intentional. We know that if RPS has any chance to improve student outcomes through our strategic plan, we have to maintain the financial and people resources to do it. We can't cut our way to success. And we're the only government entity, as the question and answer also provided, that is required to go to the voters for increased revenue through property taxes. I'll repeat, we told the community in 2022 that we would be seeking a property tax increase through a referendum in the next 3 years. We cannot wait any longer to make that ask until the city or the county is in a financial position where they have low or no tax increases. We told our community about the problem and the strategy to address it. We've not deviated from implementing that strategy, and the time is now for the community to act on the final piece of that strategy, the referendum, with revenue that will be applied to the benefit of education for Rochester students. Director Barlow.
Question number 16.
RPS said that this levy would be enforced for 10 years, but I've heard 20 years. What's the answer?
In 2023, the state of Minnesota approved legislation that allows school boards to renew a voter-approved operating levy one time without holding another referendum. As a result, a future Rochester school board would be able to renew the levy that is on the ballot in 2024 between July 1st, 2032 and June 14th, 2034. Now, the membership and priorities of the RPS school board will likely change between now and then, so it's difficult to predict how the school board might act at that time. In addition, the state of Minnesota could also decide to repeal this recently approved law. Given those and other potential changes in the political landscape, I think it's really impossible to predict whether the operating levy that's on the ballot November 5th would be extended beyond the current 10-year period that would be put in place if the referendum is approved.
Well, I've selected this because I, like many of you, have heard the statement made that this will seemingly automatically be extended. It's not really a 10-year, it's a 20-year. But it is a 10-year, and I appreciate the answer. And one thing stuck out to me, and I did the math to be sure, but should this referendum pass, there will be 5 school board election cycles which will occur during this 10-year period. And it's impossible to know what the makeup of those, what the school board will look like. I can speak for myself. I don't envision myself being here 10 years from now. But having said that, those who may be concerned certainly are encouraged to become involved, engaged, and perhaps occupy these seats, so when those decisions need to be made, they're in a position to make them.
All right, Director Workman.
I chose question number 18.
How would an increase or decrease in student enrollment impact the amount of funding that the referendum generates for RPS?
The amount of funding that RPS receives through the referendum would be based upon the number of students that we serve. As a result, if enrollment declines, the amount of funding the district receives will decrease, and if enrollment rises, the amount will increase.
So I was interested in this question because I think it's really important to remind people of the actual words of the ballot, which were written by legal counsel, submitted to MDE, Minnesota Department of Education, Olmsted County, and Wabasha County, and approved by the board this past May. So the ballot question actually reads, the Board of Independent School District number 535, Rochester Public Schools, Minnesota, has proposed to increase the school district's general education revenue by $1,133 per pupil, subject to an annual increase at the rate of inflation. The proposed new referendum revenue authorization would be first levied in 2024 for taxes payable in 2025 and applicable for 10 years unless otherwise revoked or reduced as provided by law. Then the question is, shall the new referendum authorization proposed by the Board of Independent School District number 535, Rochester Public Schools, Minnesota, be approved. I'd also like to remind people that property taxes can go up if the property is reassessed at a greater value, but the property taxes could also go down if the property tax is reassessed at a lower value, or can also go down if the tax base expands, which it has been doing. Just a reminder, this is simply the school board, school district part of the property tax. The rest of your tax bill is from the city and the county, and any special assessments you might have on your property.
Director Marvin.
Lori, question number 19.
Why should someone who does not have kids in the school care about this referendum?
Rochester Public Schools currently serves over 17,300 students, or more than 75% of the young people who live within the district's boundaries. This means that the education students receive in RPS classrooms today will powerfully shape our community's workforce tomorrow. The knowledge and skills of our workforce, whether in healthcare, business, law enforcement, or other fields, will play a key role in determining whether Rochester thrives or declines. Studies show that people with better educations earn higher incomes, have more stable families, are healthier and live longer, and are more likely to vote and volunteer. They're also less likely to commit serious crimes and rely on welfare. Additionally, homes near good schools tend to have higher property values. For these and many other reasons, residents without children in school are much more likely to enjoy a higher quality of life in a community with strong public schools.
Well, I think Dr. Piquel just answered that better than I can, so we could leave it like that. However, the reason I chose this particular question is because I'm in that demographic. I don't have children in school, and the last week I was able to meet with a group of retired senior citizens and a group of high school students. It wasn't about the referendum. We did talk about education, but none of them have kids in schools. And they all talked about why education is important. As Dr. Piquel has said, a community with quality public education is good for economic growth of that community for all the reasons he just mentioned, and many more. And I'm thinking, we pay taxes for things that we value. I mean, even if I didn't drive a car, I would be happy to pay the city to keep the streets in front of my house plowed. I want to know if a fire engine can get through if there's a fire. I really want to know that the pizza delivery guy can get there. And I want people from other communities to know that if they move to Rochester, they will have streets that are as safe as they can be in Minnesota winters. The other part of this question, though, is why should someone care about Rochester kids, especially if they're other people's kids? And to my way of thinking, the part that's not about economy is that this country and our community has made a promise to kids that we will do everything we can to help you have a better life than we had, to help you get ahead, to help you be safe, to help you discover who you are and have opportunities that we didn't have, to help you navigate a world with problems that didn't exist when we were younger. It's the promise we make, and it's the promise, I think, that helps us become a better community, that helps us become inviting to other people who want to come here, whether they have children or not. It's a promise we make to our kids.
Thank you, board members. Board members, does anybody have any cross comments or any general comments about questions or?
I think Director Marvin, if I could take a shot at summing up the way that you just added on to Dr. Piquel's response to question 19, it might be that one reason comes from your head, the other one's from your heart. I thought you put that really well.
And I think we would be remiss even though none of the top 20 questions specifically deal with voting. But early voting is open in person, and it's available at the Olmsted County Elections Office Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And there are some additional dates for early in-person voting on Saturday, October 26th, and Saturday, November 2nd, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and on Sunday, November 3rd, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Tuesday, October 29th, the hours are extended from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then, of course, there's voting on Election Day on November 5th. Anything else, board members? I think I'd like to thank the superintendent and our communications team for all the work that they've done in bringing all of these resources together and putting the videos together and editing them and recording them. I think it'll be a great resource for our community, along with our new chatbot, who are looking for information as they go to vote in the next 2 weeks. So our next agenda item is other business, 7.1. There were no questions submitted by board members before the meeting. The current version of the ABCD is available in this agenda item. Are there any agenda items board members would like to raise for consideration for a future meeting agenda? Hearing none, our upcoming board meeting dates are November 12th at 5:30 p.m., which is a regular meeting. On November 19th at 5:30 p.m., we have a special session, which is our public hearing on what we used to call the world's best workforce and what we now call, I know, I can't remember it yet. Civic readiness
and good stuff.
Okay.
Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's the worst name ever, replacing the second worst name ever.
Exactly. Immediately following that public hearing will be a regular meeting. On December 1st, or December 3rd at 5:30 p.m., we have a regular meeting, and on December 10th at 5:30 p.m., we have a study session. And hearing no other business, this meeting is adjourned at 6:42 p.m.